everybody. I'm Laura Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. With another overseas trip, President Trump has again proven his effectiveness as a world leader and as the promoter-in-chief for the United States of America. Joining me to discuss the leadership strengths of President Trump is a successful business leader and former GOP presidential candidate, Herman Cain. Herman, thank you so much. We always love having you on. It's great to have you with us today.
Laura, you know I'm delighted to be with you anytime.
Thank you. So I got to see the president's leadership qualities firsthand in London, and I noticed how natural he really is in his role as a world leader. Don't you think, Herman, that he represents America's interests so well wherever he goes?
He represents America's interest probably as good as any president since Ronald Reagan. And I got to tell you, Ronald Reagan was one of my heroes, and so is your father-in-law, President Donald J. Trump. I was so glued to that D-Day 75th anniversary show this morning that they had on TV. I was mesmerized. It was moving, and as you indicated, he seems so natural in that role. And you want to know the reason that I think that's the case? He is a natural leader. And that's what a lot of people do not understand, what natural leadership is all about.
Yeah, no, he certainly has that quality. And whether you're talking about with Prime Minister May, with President Macron of France, with the royal family and the Queen, I mean, he was incredibly impressive wherever he went. And I was very proud not only to call him my father-in-law, but to call him our president, because he represented us so well. But Herman, the thing is, the media just doesn't seem to understand that just because President Trump fights back against political opponents on Twitter, that doesn't mean he can't represent the United States honorably overseas. I mean, they just don't seem to get it.
The issue with the media is they do understand, they simply reject it. That's the bottom line.
There you go.
They just reject it. They are still in denial that he's president. They're still in denial that he is a natural leader like we talked about. They're simply in denial. And unfortunately, Laura, that's not going to change. But I just returned from a trip out west. Now, let me tell you what I observed from real people. Real people are not abandoning, supporting President Donald J. Trump. Secondly, I've talked to a lot of people that are in the middle who are getting on board to support Trump in 2020. I'm not worried about the media who will never accept it. I'm not worried about the liberal lunatic Democrats who will never accept him. I'm not going to worry about that. I see more people moving with some common sense toward President Trump. And I think that his display at the observance of the 75th anniversary was just an epitome of his leadership. And here's what I know about President Donald J. Trump, and you probably know this too. Yes, he has speech writers to help him, but you also know that he will modify some of those speeches such that it comes across as coming from his heart. He delivered that today like I haven't seen since Ronald Reagan.
Wow. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And you're right. He's very keen on wanting to review things and making things authentic to him. And he speaks directly from his heart. And guess what, Herman? If it's not written, he'll go ahead and just say it. He goes off script all the time. And I know it stresses out everybody there that helps him with the speech, but he's always so good at it. And you can't stop him
right.
when he's got something on his heart and on his mind that he wants to say. He definitely will put it out there.
Yes.
So now, when he was in London, of course, trade was on the president's agenda.
As the UK makes preparations to exit the European Union, the United States is committed to a phenomenal trade deal between the U.S. and the UK. There is tremendous potential in that trade deal. I say probably 2 and even 3 times of what we're doing right now. Tremendous potential.
All right, Herman, how is the president leveraging Brexit to secure a new trade deal with the UK?
The president is leveraging Brexit as well as all of the other trade deals, first, to level the playing field for the United States of America. Secondly, He is a smart businessman. He does not want to try and reduce their ability. He wants to make their ability to do business with us even better. But that's not how it's reported. So he's leveraging Brexit by saying, we want a level playing field. And that'll be good for you, and that'll be good for us, just like he's doing the same thing with China, same thing that he's doing with Canada, Mexico, and all countries. His message is simple. Let's level the playing field. And that means it's good business for everybody. And I admire that. That's back to that natural born leadership that I've seen, you've seen, and many people have seen, even though some people are still in denial.
That's okay. Maybe one day they'll wake up and actually realize it. Now, as we've talked about, the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of D-Day was an incredibly moving ceremony. Let's take a look.
We are gathered here on freedom's altar, on these shores, on these bluffs, on this day 75 years ago. 10,000 men shed their blood and thousands sacrificed their lives for their brothers, for their countries, and for the survival of liberty. Today we remember those who fell, and we honor all who fought right here in Normandy. You are among the very greatest Americans who will ever live. You are the pride of our nation. You are the glory of our republic, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Herman, I had chills and tears watching it the first time, now a second time. It's incredibly moving. What did you think of the tribute?
I thought the tribute was absolutely fitting, and it was absolutely moving. And one of the takeaways from this tribute about Normandy and the invasion of Normandy is that it was a turning point for civilization. That's the big message, which is why we should never forget what happened at Normandy. We should never forget those 3,888 lives that were lost because they were willing to die for freedom and to die for this nation rather than back away and allow civilization to go in a different direction. I couldn't have seen or written a better tribute than the one that the president gave.
Yeah, we were all, I think, as Americans, very proud of him. Jim Acosta, even, Herman had to acknowledge what a great speech it was by the president. And
Really?
and you're right, he really did, if you can believe that. And we all should never forget. And listen, so few of our World War II veterans are still alive, but there were so many there, and I can't imagine being in their shoes and going back 75 years later when they were there as young men, many of them very injured, and then being there, being honored not just by our president and our nation, but by the world for, to your point, saving the free world. It was an incredible tribute, and I thought the president executed it absolutely perfectly. I was very, very proud of him.
He did. He
did. Yeah,
and he quoted one of the veterans of World War II who said, "It would dishonor the dead not to go back."
right.
I thought that was very, very powerful and very, very fitting because I'm sure many of those veterans have some bad memories of that day and those weeks, but to not go back, I think he was absolutely right on when he said it would be a dishonor not to go back at this point when they were the lucky ones.
Right. Well, we've seen, whether you're talking about his trip to London, his trip to Normandy, the president's incredible ability around the world. But can you imagine our nation's potential abroad, Herman, if the media properly portrayed the president's skills at statescraft and at home if the Democrats were willing to work with him? Imagine the potential.
The potential will be huge. They're not only in denial about the successes, the progress that we've already had, they are in denial about what this president is trying to do to achieve even greater prosperity. And that's why I'm encouraged by the people who are Trump supporters, the people who are supporters of this administration, and the people in the middle who are waking up to what really is going on. And I can't think of a better example of this natural leadership that we talked about than what we saw today on TV and you saw yesterday, having been there.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of people out there who have woken up, who have realized what Donald Trump is trying to do for
Yes.
our country and for our country around the world, and the way he's leveling the playing field. So we look forward to having them on our team for 2020. But Herman, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for reflecting on all of this with me. It's always great to have you, and we hope you'll come back soon.
I'll be happy to do it. Thank you very much.
With each trip overseas, Donald Trump is proving that he's a natural as a world leader who puts America's interests first everywhere he goes. That's the real news for today. I'm Laura Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.